Okay, good afternoon, everyone. We're live and we're here again. My name is Bumi Bossade, and we have another topic that we would be discussing today. Um, we'll be talking about what you need to know, or what you would have, or what you wish you knew in your first year of university and college. And I have our amazing panelists today. And in the mix, we have a parent joining us to share a perspective as well. So I would start with us all introducing ourselves, and I will start with Nifemi.
Sorry, I was just sharing the poster on Instagram. Hello, my name is Nafemi. I'm currently in my third year of Health Sciences at Queen's University, and I'm very excited to be here today.
Hi, Nifemi. We also have Dayo and Tolu.
Hi, I'm Dio. I am in my final year of civil engineering at McMaster University.
Hi, my name is Tolu. I'm in my second year at McMaster University studying applied psychology and human behavior.
Hello, Tolu. Dayo as well. And Tayo.
Hi everyone, my name is A. Tade. I'm a third year student at Queen's University studying commerce with a minor in employment relations, and I'm really excited to be with you and chat through what I wish I knew in my first year.
Thank you so much for joining us. Then Luis.
Hello, everybody. I'm Muiz. I'm right now in my first year of university at McMaster studying software engineering.
Welcome. And we have our parents in the house. I want to, before I ask you to introduce yourself, I want to say big thank you for joining us on our session today. I would ask that you kindly introduce yourself, Auntie Dupe.
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Modupe Ehilai. I'm a lawyer, family law lawyer, and also the host of Talk with Mo. I'm just super excited to be here today.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Ma. And thank you once again to this amazing youth for being a part of this, for willing to share your stories in order to help your peers within the community. Now, we've talked about the topic that we will be talking about today. Um, what I wish I knew in my first year of university and college. Now, we know this is that season where we have a lot of high school grade 12 students preparing to get into university and college. You're having your offers come in from schools, trying to make your choice on what school to attend. And we also know that it's a very kind of exciting period in most homes and families because people are excited. You're getting offers from the schools that you want to attend. You're prepping for your prom, you're prepping for what I need for school. And as much as I know those things are important, I also know that having now to get into the system, school, and sort out yourself, it's another thing that you would have to deal with. Now, I know that for most schools, if not all schools, you would have the orientation session where they will give you a lot of information, and sometimes it might be information overload. You hear so much and you don't actually know what to do with them. And sometimes also, even though when you know what to do with them, because you're in a new environment entirely, where you don't really know what is obtainable, what to do, how to go about it, you're kind of overwhelmed, right? So that is why we're having this session today to help those of our young adults and teenagers that will be proceeding into their post university, post secondary school um, life in September. Now, I have my amazing panels here. They'll be telling us how they were able to navigate the university system in their first year, the things that they learned, the things that they wish they know, the challenges they faced, how they were able to time manage, how they were able to kind of work with their schedules in regard classes, in regards to their social life and the likes. And we have a parent here as well that also is willing to share with us what she did in preparing our kids for university, and how they were able to go through that phase together, and if she has any tips, advice for us. So I would start now, and I think I want to start with the parent first. I think I want to start with the parent first. I just have one question first for you, Ma, and the question is, how did you prepare for this phase when your children began to get into university? What were the things that you were mindful of? What did you do as a parent?
Bumi, thank you. That's a great question. And I have to be very honest here. When I went to university, there was no parade, there was no fun fair. It was, you go to school, you do your what was it, JAMB, then you did your exams, you pass, you go to school. So, and it was just a matter of procedure. And so that was what I knew. And so when we got to Canada, I just felt my kids, well, you go to school, pass your exams, let's choose the colleges you're interested in, and then you head out to university. And so I'm glad I have this opportunity to share, because I would not want other parents to make the mistake that I made, so that things can be better. So my daughter did have a lot of offers. She graduated with a 93% average from her secondary school, high school. She got a conditional offer admission from a school she really wanted to go for and a program she wanted to go. But the cutoff for that was 95. And we didn't know that it was a conditional offer. So we're excited that she got the offer. And so about, I think, 3 weeks, 1 month to the time, we're like, well, you need to start shopping, you need to go. We had attended orientation of not orientation, information sessions, rather. But fortunately, there was another school that I thought, well, why don't you just try this one out? They are also giving you a scholarship as well. Let's see if that would work. And it was at that time she brought out the letters and she says, oh, Mom, this is a conditional offer. I'm like, what do you mean it's a conditional offer? It was a nightmare, because at this point, it was almost too late to be applying to other schools. But fortunately, there was just that last school that she was sitting on and saying, well, I'm not sure about this one. It was far away. It was we're in Oakville, and the school is in Carleton in Ottawa. And so just the 5 hours drive, I was not excited about that 5 hours drive. And I was also just getting into my exams, qualifying exams for lawyer, had just finished my MBA at the time. So busy time for me, no excuses. Parents listening, no excuses. The children come first, family first. And so I did not invest in as much time as I ought to have done. So we ended up going to Carleton. I did the drive, drove her, settled her in, chose the apartment and all of that, excited. But we called more than visited. I was too far. There were exams, there were things going on, and then you had other kids. So that is one thing that I regretted, because she now needed to navigate all of that by herself, which it might have been, it would have been better if we were there. And, it was just a tough time with one parent being abroad and the other here. And it was, like I said, there's never an excuse to do the right thing. And so, and the reason I wanted to share this was because I don't think it would be right to say, oh, yeah, the first year was nice, it was good, and all of that, and not be honest about the challenges we went through so that other parents, I believe that is why this platform exists, so that
Exactly.
people can learn to do the right thing. So don't repeat my mistakes. If I can be vulnerable to say, this were my mistakes, then please learn from it and don't do that. So regardless of where they end up, make the drive, take the time, just travel. There's a very real, you don't have to drive. There's a very real, you can always go. So by the time we began to visit, it was kind of like too late. You know, she's set in her ways, she's matured, she's learned to do a lot of things, and so, and they need you. No matter how much they seem to have grown up, kids need us. And so I hope that helps someone out there. I hope that answered your question. I know I responded, but I don't know if I answered it.
Thank you so much for being. Thank you. I thank you so much for being vulnerable, and I think that's something that we lack within our community. We see being vulnerable as being weak, and for me, I always say it. It is not. It is just showing that you're human. It's showing that it's okay sometimes to make the mistakes, have challenges, because you don't know who you would help with your story. You don't know who that story can impact, in their lives. And I like the fact that you did mention the fact that parents, we need to get involved. It's not just kind of, sending money and placing that call and responding to text messages. We need to actually have an idea what's going on in this children's life, and that's how we're able to help them navigate challenges. I know that kids, especially in this part of the world, the minute they get to university, there's this independency that comes with it. Now I'm an adult, I can make decisions by myself, and but still they would still need us one way or the other. So thank you so much for that. Nifemi, you wanted to say something?
I just wanted to say something really quickly. I think it also really depends on your child. You don't want to get to the point where you start to micromanage them and you're watching every single thing that they do, because that can sort of build, I'm being very honest, resentment or annoyance as they're trying to figure out independence. So I think having a conversation with your child, even before they leave, if they're going away from home, of how do you want me to support you as you're transitioning to university, might help gauge what your child wants. Some kids might want the parents to come down every weekend. Some kids might want the hands-off approach just a little bit more. But I agree that you definitely have to, you can't just leave them alone and say they'll be fine. But I think having a conversation and understanding what your child wants from you is also really important.
Yes, thank you, Nifemi. I totally agree with what you have said. Now, I would ask the question out, and I'll put this question to Moise. Moise is the back where I come from. We call them freshers. So you are the in our mix this afternoon. So you're in 100 level. How was the experience? Your first term in school, the first time you set your foot into university, what was the feeling like?
Well, it was firstly I was feeling like pretty nervous, kind of anxious and excited, There was like a lot more stuff. There's a lot more schoolwork to do, a lot more stuff around the campus, just like a lot more stuff in general. So like, I don't know, I felt worried, but at the same time I was feeling excited because like you mentioned, I felt more independent now, and I was like looking forward to what was coming.
Great. And Tade, you've been in school for a while as well. So tell me, what was the experience for you? Because I know you stay on campus. So what was the experience for you when you started university?
I think.
Um,
Oh,
sorry.
sorry. Was the question? You can say your thought. Say your thought. Go ahead.
No, it's
Oh no,
for
yeah.
Tade. So I'll come back to you, Moise.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think for me, it didn't even feel real until my parents, I saw like their car driving off in the mist. And then I was finally like, oh my God, like I'm actually here alone in university. I think you spend a lot of time in the months leading up to it, going on Pinterest, you're shopping, you're watching movies, you're romanticizing the whole experience. But then when you actually get there, it can be very different or very difficult. And I think for me, trying to navigate that, the best tool I had was relying on the support systems that were available. So I came to Queens. My best friend from high school goes here. I knew Nifemi. And so coming in, having these people that I knew and had close relationships with was really nice because I could lean on them for support. I remember in my first week, I think Nifemi's family came and saw me and spent a little bit of time with me, which was really nice. But also just being mindful of the fact that everybody else is going through the same thing. You're not alone. All the other first years, regardless of how like cool or exciting or fun they look, they're also just as nervous and they're also trying to navigate the system. So just trying to be as open and as vulnerable with your peers so you can build those relationships and kind of figure out what exactly you're looking for. I think that was also really helpful.
Thank you so much. And I like the fact that you mentioned that you knew a couple of people that you could reach out to, and you did reach out to them, right? You didn't think of, oh my God, I don't want them to feel that I'm a bother or that I am, being too, intrusive into their private life. You were willing to reach out. So that's another tip that I would put out there, for people that are looking forward to going into school in September. Be willing to reach out. Don't, think that it's a wrong thing or they will feel offended or privacy and all that. Yes, you wanted to say something?
Yes, really quickly, Matt. I'll just add that I know also on social media there tends to be like 5. I'm class of 2025. There tends to be pages made either on like Facebook or different social media platforms where students will try to connect over common interests. So people will write like short bios, and even if you don't know somebody coming in, like even if no one from your high school is going to the same university as you, if you can get into some of those pages, you can meet people who have common interests and create a couple of friends before you get there so that you do kind of create that support system ahead of time, and you feel well equipped to navigate those first couple of weeks.
Thank you for the point. And Auntie Dupe, if this would resonate with you, what she just said just reminded me of when we're writing NCAs and all that, how you will go on a group and say, oh, who is writing admin law, constitutional law? Please, can you reach out? And somehow we form a clique and we have our own group, study group together. And that's how we meet new friends, right? And we begin to expand our community. So
yeah,
yes.
that support system it's just wonderful. It's like a rock for you. So yeah, thanks Eitade for sharing that.
Yeah. And Dio, I would ask you these questions. I know that Eitade and Nifemi, they've talked about how to make friends, how they did it. But for you, did you think you did anything different from what they have just mentioned in having to build your community when you got to school?
My story is a little bit different because I graduated high school during the pandemic and I started university during the pandemic. So my whole first year was online. I was doing it in my room by myself, and it was very rough. It was again, like you're not with anybody, you're not interacting with anybody. And so the people I did interact with were people I was put into like project groups with. And so like you find yourself making like temporary friends just like for the moment because like that's all you can do. And then it wasn't until I guess going into second year when we started coming in person that I was like, okay, this person helped me through this. Okay, this person had like we had common interests here, and then we just started like forming makeshift friend groups until we started weeding people out or like figuring things out. But then one thing that helped me make friends was joining clubs once we could start joining them in person. And then seeing those same people again weekly, seeing them in your classes, seeing them around campus, then you start figuring out, okay, like you don't have to make friends just in your classes. You can make friends outside of that. So yeah.
And Nifemi, before you take that, just to quickly ask Dio, how did you decide which clubs you felt you were interested in becoming a part of?
I guess it's just based off of interest. So a lot of clubs I joined were academic clubs because I'm like, okay, how do I build on some skills that I need to build on, or like I was thinking forward on like getting jobs. So like, where would employers look for? So I look to academic clubs, and I also look to um, personal, I guess, personal clubs. I'm part of the National Society of Black Engineers, where again, there's not many of us around on campus. So I was looking to find people who are like me in a place where there aren't that many people like me. So I guess just whatever you're looking for personally, there's also like non-technical clubs where you do fun things. I know that McMaster has like a jazz club. So anything that you have personal interest in terms of again building your own personal skills or building academic skills, that's where you start looking.
Thank you. Nifemi, you wanted to say something, then I'll go to Tolu.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I was on campus, but because of COVID, I got waitlisted for residence. So I wasn't immediately in residence, which is where I think a lot of people will like find friends and meet people. I was immediately like in a house and had to also navigate independence with being in a house. Like it's a very different experience being on campus versus being in a house on campus. So I like if anyone has any questions for that too, I can speak to that. But I will say to echo off Aitade, your school's social media, not just like personal things like that, but your school has social media pages that you can follow ahead of time. So for example, we have the off-campus living association that you could follow for tips, resources, and tricks like that, specifically like Queen's Run, that can help you orient yourself depending on whatever living situation you have coming in for you.
Okay. And for Tolu, I know that you go to school from home. Did that make any difference in regard to you having to settle into your classes, make friends, and join clubs? Was there any difference between or did you feel that there were things you were missing out because you were going from home?
Yeah, for sure. Like I have to carpool with my sister because we both go to the same school, so our schedules had to really align so that we're not like holding one person back. And coming from home, I feel because my parents they're very like into my academic life, my social life, so they do monitor me. So yeah, like staying late on campus, I couldn't really do that because I first of all I didn't really know what was going on because I wasn't that well informed. And if I was staying late, it was because my sister either had a meeting and I had to wait for her, or like some other issue arose. But yeah, I feel like maybe it was a me thing that I didn't really put myself out there looking for clubs because I didn't join any clubs my first year. But I feel like coming from home, it did kind of hinder my opportunity to reach out and make more friends.
Or do you think that because your sister was already in school, did you think it contributed to you not actually looking for friends or joining clubs because you already had probably a companion and someone that you could draw knowledge from and you could talk to and could put you through things? Do you think that was kind of part of the reasons why you didn't reach out that much on those aspects?
In a way, I think yes, but me and my sister, we never really like cross paths on campus because she's in like engineer, I'm in a different faculty, so we don't really like cross paths unless we're like getting out of looking for each other or like getting out of the car, coming back to the car. But it also like is my fault because I'm a shy person. I don't really like making the first move, which is something that I had to like grow out of. But yeah, I feel I could go to my sister for advice, but most of the times like what I'm looking for like in terms of advice, she can't really like help me.
And thank you for being vulnerable, telling us you're shy. And I have a follow-up question. Now, because you're shy, what do you think helped you? What were the tools that you used in getting to the point where you are right now? Because you said in your first year you really didn't reach out, you didn't join, any of those clubs, but I guess now it's better. So what were the things that helped you overcome those times and those challenges?
Well, I did a lot of group work in my classes, so that really forced me to like make conversation with the people in my groups.
I have a couple mutual friends from like other schools who attend my school, and I'm like, oh wait, you know this person, I know this person too, and then we kind of form a connection from there. And yeah, that's really what the majority of how I was like forced to make conversation.
Thank you. And I have a question, and this is anybody that's willing to go for it, please go for it. Now, I'm an African mom. I don't want to apologize for that, but it is what it is. I'm an African mom, and I have this strong notion that the set of people that you relate with would kind of impact your way of life, your style, your everything around you. And I know that getting into the university, because now going back to the fact that now you're independent, right? The set of people that you relate with as young adults would have a lot to do with every other area of your life, such as your academics, such as your social life. So, how were you able to make that decision in regards the set of friends that you had around you? Nifemi.
Yeah, so I think this is the biggest fear for any African parent sending their kids to live 4 hours away, or like, what are they doing? Where are they? Who are they talking to? Blah, blah, blah. And I feel like it's a very rational and understandable fear. Like, this is the first time your child is going away from home. But I think that once your child, and I know this is like, it goes against like African like wiring, at the age of 17, 18, they're going away from home. I know they're your child, but you have to trust your child. You have to trust the rearing you did, all the Bible study, all the in drilling in that you did. You have to trust it, because they are getting to the point where they have to make these decisions for themselves. So just as a caveat out there, you have to trust your child and have to be able to sort of let them go and trust that they'll make the right decisions because of like how you've raised them, right? So for me, coming into university, I had a goal. Like, I know, like, this is what I wanted, this is what I have to do to get there. I'm not going to let anything distract me, right? So I think I sort of realized that I have friends for different things. I have friends that we work together really hard academically, right? We're in the same program, work on projects together, we bounce ideas off each other. And these are my friends that they are like great for academics, and I keep them close. I also have friends who are a little bit better with the social aspect. They'll invite me more to go out, or they'll invite me more, to explore different things around Kingston. And I know that those are friends that I can turn to when I need a break from school or anything like that. But I keep it balanced. I'm not going to be going out every single weekend or doing everything like that. I know who to sort of refer to for the things I need. Not to say that you should be relegating your friends to like specific groups or whatever, but you can sort of identify who fulfills what role in your life. So I think a big part of it for parents is just trusting that your child has, the ability to make the right decisions. Keep checking in on your child. Like, as you were saying before, don't just leave them and just say, okay, you'll figure it out. Check in, ask them, like, what are you doing this weekend? Where are you going? What are you up to? So that way you can sort of gauge how they're spending their time. But I think for me, it was just realizing I have friends that can support me in this area. I have some friends who can support me in this area. This is how I keep my balance.
Thank you. Does anyone else want to go for that question?
I can speak.
Moise?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I'll get to you, Itade. Moise, please go ahead.
Yeah, what Nifemi said is basically pretty accurate, I believe. I guess having friends for like different areas, I think that's a good way to explain it. Like, let's see, I have friends like, I feel like having friends that can like motivate you, push you, work alongside you. I feel like that's good, because like, especially sometimes it can get kind of stressful. You have somebody, alongside you, kind of doing the same thing, kind of like motivating you. It's pretty good. And then like you can also like kind of get a bit competitive. I think it's good to have friends with like that, and then like you have the more social aspect. It's good to have friends that will help you in that area, and then like yeah, the whole thing of like trusting your child to make their decisions. I believe in that too. I commute from home, so I still see my parents pretty regularly. But yeah, I think like even the first couple of days, you're pretty easily, at least for me, it's pretty easily able to figure out who's like in your who I guess who's like who would be nice to hang out with, who would make good friends with and everything, you know. But yeah, I think Nifemi's explanation of like just having friends for multiple years is pretty good.
Thank you so much. Eitadi, please go for it. I know you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I was just going to speak personally. I think intrinsic motivation is very powerful, and you need to decide what you want to be in life at a certain point. And so, yes, your parents are so valuable in giving advice. But at the end of the day, one thing I realized in university, no one's going to call you and tell you you need to go to lecture. Those people don't care if you go to lecture. You've already paid your tuition. So whether you go to lecture or you don't go to lecture has nothing to do with them. So I think like the only person you're harming by not being self-motivated is yourself. And I think in terms of like, okay, how do you become more self-motivated? I think coming into university, like Nifemi said, with a goal is so valuable in deciding, okay, in the next 3 to 5 years, I'm looking to be a lawyer or a doctor or a business professional, or this is the career I want to pursue. And then making sure that the actions you take are in alignment with pursuing those goals. So you can kind of do regular check-ins with yourself and see like, okay, you know, me skipping lectures all the time and me not going to class, are those things that are going to help me achieve the 3 to 5 year goal I've had? And in terms of how your parents can support, I think rather than them dictating to you the type of person you should be, they should be accountability partners. So you should communicate to them, okay, my goal is to be, for me, I came into Queens looking to work in international labor policy. So I communicated that goal to my parents and I said, you know, like I need help and support in the internship. So call me and check in and say like, hey, Tati, have you applied to your internship today? Have you done this? Have you done that? Like kind of making sure that I'm on track. But I don't think it's particularly helpful or self-motivating to have somebody dictating to you at 20 years old, you should go to class or you should do this or you should do that. Like I don't think in the long term, that's a sustainable strategy.
Okay. Nifemi, I'll get to you. And to Dupe, I see you smiling. Do you have something to say?
I actually agree with with everyone, Eitade, Nifemi, Moise. I agree with what they've had to say. I think it's about time. One of the biggest challenges I have come to see with parents is that they are not adapting to parenting in North American style. And I don't believe that you have to be a different kind of parent depending on the geographical area. But every environment dictates the kind of parents that you should be and the style of parent. In Nigeria, you can have the Hoover mom and dad, you know, monitoring, dictating, and all of that. And Bumi, you know that is how we were brought up. In my case, my father called me, hey, you're not good in math. So I think the best line of course for you is to go and study law or, you know, or journalism or something of that. Or he said, you cannot study journalism. You have to go study law. You have to be a professional. And it was done. Even if I wanted to study something else, my father has spoken and it was that. But it's different here. And I see most parents still saying, you have to go and study medicine. And the child is not even inclined towards sciences, and you are bent on the child study health sciences because Mr. somebody's daughter is, are you better? Are they better? It's wild, but I mean, I just want to commend you all for being forthcoming and honest, and you know, with the thoughts that you're speaking. It's very, very, very poignant for this season. Lots of parents need to hear how you are thinking, because that's another challenge. We don't know what you're thinking, and we need to know because we were brought up in a totally different era with a totally different kind of parenting style, and so it's important that we know that this is what entails. So if any parent is there still thinking they need to dictate, well, you're hearing it from from the kids, well, not so big kids, not so little kids, but big kids, you know, saying this is what works for them. So accountability partners, yes, I think that is the role we need to be playing now, as long as well as praying for the children and just letting them see, have those options, and we're coming alongside them.
So I totally agree with everyone. Caveats. I want to kind of I want to come from an average African mom's perspective. And like I said, before I make my comment, I totally agree with everything that you have said. But I also know that for every parent, they're doing this from a place of love.
Mhm.
They're doing this from a place of what they know. Like Antidipe said, that is how we're brought up. That is our understanding of showing love, of showing you that we support what you're doing. Now, I also know that there are some individuals or young adults that are not. I want to choose what care.
Auntie,
Yes, Nifemi.
like, can I jump in? Because this is what I was going to talk about. This is what I was trying to say. So I think as a parent, everything is coming from love, and you also know your child. We're all sitting here from a place of privilege, is very motivated. We know what to do. There's children out there that are skipping school to go and do whatever, right? And these parents are worried. You know, they want their child to do well. They're scared. I think a lot of it is fear. You invest so much into your children, all you want is success for them, and you know your child, right? So I think there's a balance between the takes we're providing here. We're coming from that perspective of very self-motivated, driven, we know what to do. But there's students out there who don't know. They're still kind of lost. Some of them are
That's
don't
exactly
love
where.
school, tired of school. Exactly. So I think there's that balance there of you can see your child and be like, you know what, this child needs a little bit more of a firm hand. Maybe I have to be a little bit more of a dictator, or more of a little bit more of a micromanager, just to help them, get on that track. But this child, I think I need to sit back a little bit. I need to let them be able to do what they want. And I think what's most important is talking, is having that conversation with your child. Because yes, you know your child, you are observing, but you haven't spoken to them and asked them, why are you behaving like this? Or what's your plan for university? What do you even want? Right? So I think you know your child, you know the struggles you guys have gone through. There has to be like a sit down, serious conversation of how are we going to handle this transition? I didn't come to Canada for you to not go to university or drop out of university or not be serious, but how do you want me to support you in this program? Do you get what I'm trying to say? Big Wemby and Hilary could probably speak more to this, but I feel like there's a balance between that sort of independence thing. I don't know how to really articulate it.
Yeah.
I
May I?
get you. And I'll come to you, Tolu. I'm coming, Sister Dupe. I just quickly want to say this. Now, I remember when Nifemi started university. I'm not sure if Nifemi remembered this conversation, but I think it was the first month you went to school. Then you had to come home for a ceremony or event that was happening. And I had that conversation with. I was like, "Oh, Nifemi, how is school? How was your first week? How was your second week? Did you make friends?" Blah, blah, blah. And you said, "Oh yes, Auntie, we have a group now, and we study together. We go to watch a movie." And I'm like, "Oh, great!" And you said something. You said, "Oh, we're supposed to go and see a movie that day, but I knew that I had some homework that I had not finished, so I had to excuse myself from going with them to see that movie." And I asked you, I was like, "Oh, what did you say to them?" He said, "I just told them that, sorry guys, I can't come with you because I had so much to do." And the truth is, it's not every young adult that would have been able to say that, because remember that you're just getting into university, you're looking for acceptance, you're looking for people that would accept you into there. So at that point you want to make friends. So it's now a decision of, okay, do I go with my friend? It's just this one time, right? Or do I stay back and read up what I need to do? And it's a process. The minute you begin to weigh and you think your friends, they are important, then you begin to slack on the other side. So it's not everybody that has that, how do I call it now? That determination and that strong will, that personality of I think this is what I want to do. So in such situation, how would you now advice. Now, I'm throwing this out there, and Tolu, I will get back to you and Auntie Dupe, but it's just in my head, and I just wanted us to quickly talk about this. And has anyone been in that situation before? Yeah, go ahead, Muse.
Yeah, I guess I've been in that situation a couple times. So basically, when I do find myself some situations like that, like you want to go hang out or like want to go see a movie, a lot of the time it's like, you, I'll just have the same response as Nifemi, just be like, no, I got work to do, can't. But like, I think that another like that's also part of the reason where it's like picking the right friends, because like if you find the right group, they'll when you want to study, they also want to study anyways, because you've probably got a midterm coming up. So like, if I feel like with the right friends, most of the time that issue probably won't come up anyways. But like even if it does come up, like if they have like more free time and you have to study, I from what I've seen, I don't think a lot of people have that problem of like just caving into peer pressure. As some people do, and like I guess if like if you have a friend that's like that, or like sometimes even yourself, I think it's nice to just maybe talk at some point. Like that's what I'll do. It's like I can't really go out that much. I gotta study. I'm not like I gotta improve in this class, all that stuff. And I think usually students are like we're pretty good with that stuff. I think like there's normally not many problems in that area.
Thank you. You had your hands up, Dayo.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna go back to Nifemi's point of just like having the parental, I guess, guidance or support, but like from early on. So I know like my parents, again, depends on your child. So I'm gonna use me and my sister as an example. When I was in high school, again, I was very self-regulated. So anytime I had homework, I come home, I do it. So my parents had seen that, I guess, personality trait or just like that drive in me since the beginning. So when it came to university, they weren't really on top of me like that. They were like, oh, Dio has work, she's gonna get it done. But Tolu, on the other hand, Tolu likes to live life. She likes to enjoy her life. So she have homework. She like, nah, my friends are here. But that's why she feels like, or that's why she said earlier that they're very on top of her, very monitoring, because they know that her personality trait is to enjoy life in the moment and then deal with the consequences later.
I'm just gonna cut you. Okay. The thing about me, like when I get work, I will do it in the moment and just to get it over with. But my dad especially, he's like, don't read ahead. Don't you have other things to do?
Yeah.
When I don't, like my academic schedule isn't as full and as taxing as my sister's.
So exactly. So that's where the comparison comes in. It's like you can't compare two different people. So it depends on the child themselves and again what they want, like what they need to do to get what they want. So again, you just have to, it's the conversation, like Nifemi said, it's the conversation. You have to know your child, know what their goals are, and then also let them talk to you about what their goals are. Let them know, like let them talk to you about how they're planning on achieving those goals. And it's a two-way thing. So I really appreciated being at home. Again, there's two different sides of the coin. Being at home, I was able to let my parents know, like when I had struggles, like I need you guys to like, I need your help, or I need you guys to leave me alone for this weekend. I have so much to do. Like I can't help with the cleaning, or I can't do anything. So again, it's a lot of communication back and forth. But at the end of the day, it's what you want, and you have to explain to your parents what you want.
Thank you so much. Sorry, before I get to you, Itai, I know Auntie Dupe wanted to say something earlier.
No, let Itade go ahead.
Yeah, Itai, sorry, my darling. I keep missing your name, and Itai is
No worries. I was just going to say, kind of building on the conversation that we've been having, I completely agree. I will say, though, that this idea of, your parents kind of being the one to push you is only sustainable for so long. I think as you go into maybe like your third and fourth, and you're thinking about like post-secondary and like job opportunities, again, like I go back to this idea of being very self-motivated. And for me, I think what helped the most, because kind of like Tolu, I think at times, like no one wants to be in the library all the time. Sometimes you do want to go and watch a movie or hang out with your friends or do something. And so when there's long stretches where you have to continuously push yourself, it can be very difficult to always find the motivation to want to go to the library, even if you're somebody who's naturally self-motivated, or even if you do have parents who are on top of you. And so what I found to be most helpful was just looking in the room and looking at my peers and kind of seeing what they were doing. The program that I'm in is a very, very competitive one. And so you can feel at times like you're behind because you see what other people are achieving and doing. And that feeling is not a good one. So for me in first year, when I felt like, oh my God, all my peers are on their P's and Q's, like everyone seems to have this insider knowledge that I don't have, that for me was a big wake up call. So I said, hey, Tati, like you need to lock in. Like these people, they don't have two heads. They're not doing something that you don't know how to do. So you need to figure out what they're doing. You need to kind of get into the mix with them, build relationships with them, access the resources that they're accessing. It's not an excuse to say, like, for me, I know personally, like math is not my strong suit, but that's not an excuse to miss out on exciting opportunities. So what can you do? Who can you partner with? Who can you rely on so that you can address your deficiencies and kind of get to where your peers are at? And so for me, being and comparing, not really comparing, but trying to match myself to the people in my program was actually a lot more beneficial than trying to work alongside my parents, because some of the knowledge that they have is a little bit outdated, and both of them don't necessarily work in the industry that I'm working in. So the advice they have is not necessarily aligned to what I'm looking for. And so I found that in general, again, like my peers were a little bit more of a valuable resource for me in terms of updated knowledge and information.
Thank you so much. Auntie Jukbe, you want to say something?
Yes, no, I was just going to follow up on what Nifemi said, and I think every one of you have echoed the same sentiments about parents talking with kids. And I just want to say that from a parent's perspective, it's many parents don't befriend their kids early enough, and they want to start doing that when the kids are in university. That's a no-no. You cannot be yelling and shouting and screaming, and then suddenly you realize the child is going to university and you're like, hey, what are we going to? You've lost the child at that time, and the child is just waiting to get out the door and, shut you down. So hearing all of you saying the parents need to talk, it's just important. An example, when my third daughter was going to university, knowing your child, I think Nifemi has said that Dayo and Tolu have just actually exemplified that. It's important to know the child. Every child, all children are unique. You might have 4 or 5, they're all going to be different. And we have 4. And so when my third was going to university, she chose the University of Toronto. This is a child that loves the city. And I knew that as a parent, being in Toronto is going to be a distraction for her. And so I sat with her and I said, hey, have you thought about this? This is going to be a distraction for you. She said, no, she really loves the city. She wants to go there. And mommy, it's not going to be a distraction. I'm like, okay. And I prayed. I said, okay, why don't you go pray about it and hear from God? And I'll be praying, but I don't think that's a good fit for you. It's different from, Toronto, you are not going, no, it's a distraction, no, you are going to fail. It's a totally different way of communicating. And she listened and she came back after about 2 or 3 weeks. She said, I think you've got a point. I actually went out with my friends today and I was just drawn to everything there. And I think, mommy, and what I was praying for was a smaller town university where she'll be able to, it's small enough for her to fit in and not too big that she's lost. And that was what I was praying for. And she found one, and it was exactly the same thing that we were praying for. And she loved it so much so that she stayed back and she finished her master's in the same city, in the same school. So the value of knowing your children, the value of communicating, the value of befriending them so you can communicate with them is, it cannot be overemphasized.
Thank you so much, everyone, for such an insightful aspect, like looking at everybody coming from different angles, and at the same time, we all meeting at the same central point of knowing your child, balancing, and you know what? also communication. I see that communication too is a very big aspect of what we all have agreed on. Now that brings me to the next question, and anybody going to go for this question as well can please take it on. Now I know that we all have talked so much about, all this skills and aspect of communication, balancing, parents being a little bit, giving the children that space and, allowing them to make decisions and all that. But I also know that there are some young adults and teenagers that are struggling and that will struggle. So for me, the question is, what, how do you reach out? Now, I want to take into consideration what Tade just said a couple of minutes ago about having to reach out to our friends with their community at a particular time because she felt the parents couldn't help in regard what she needed. But how are you able to identify when you think your parents need to be reached out to in regards whatever the issue is when you're in university? Like, there are some times that I feel that the parent's role cannot be taken out of the equation. So when do you kind of recognize that fact that, okay, I think it's time I call my mom. I think it's time I speak to my dad. Please go ahead, Dayo.
I remember a point in first year where I think I was experiencing just like, I was just very overwhelmed with burnout, and like I was having a very rough time. And it wasn't until my dad walked into my room and he was like, "Are you okay?" And I was okay, yeah. So it reached a point where like I didn't even realize that I was overwhelmed, but like he saw that like she's not okay. So you need to get to a point where you know how you are, and you just, before you get to that breaking point, you're like, okay, like I've been experiencing a couple rough days, or something hasn't just been going well. Before you get to the point like where you don't know how to react, you have to reach out. So again, it's based off of your own personality. You know what you can handle. You know what your breaking point is. Before you get there, that's when, again, like Auntie Modupa said, you want to be friends with your parents, where you have where you're comfortable enough to reach out and tell them like, I'm not doing okay. So yeah, I don't know what else to add. Just know how you respond to different situations and reach out to them before. Yeah.
Thank you. Tade, please go ahead.
Thank you. I was just going to say that I think you can still speak to your parents first, because they may not be able to answer the question, but they may be able to point you in the direction of someone who can. And that can also be very valuable. And in terms of kind of knowing where to stop or where your breaking point is, like Auntie was saying earlier, if you speak to your parents on a regular basis and you're providing them with updates, I feel as though these things are naturally going to come up in conversation. And from there, you will be able to discern, and oftentimes they will be able to discern how things are going. So for example, like I share with my mom, oh, I'm doing a presentation today, or I'm doing this, or I'm doing that. And she'll be able to ask, oh, how was the presentation? Like, is there any way I can help you? Like, what can I do? And then I'll tell her, you can help me by doing the presentation. Otherwise, like I have to just do the work. But for example, in other ways, when I was interviewing for an internship 2 summers ago, my parents actually bumped into someone at a barbecue who worked at the company that I was going to interview for. And they were able to connect me with that individual. And I was able to do a couple of practice interviews with that person. And so again, like, they didn't have the answer, but they were able to connect me with someone who did. And that was extremely helpful. And so I think as a student, you have a network of several individuals, several resources, your school, your professors, your peers, your family, the people you grew up with. And so rather than waiting to tap into one, like waiting until you feel overwhelmed or distressed, I think regular communication with all of your network on a continual basis is likely to yield better results than trying to wait or trying to discern, who has the most information.
Thank you so much. Nifemi, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to build off of that conversation. I think that sometimes it depends on your relationship with your parent. Like, we know in Nigerian communities, some people don't really talk to their parents like that. They don't have that friendly relationship yet. So I think that if you yourself, you don't feel comfortable going to your parent about something, and you as a parent too, you kind of gauge, you know, your relationship with your child. I think like what Itadi said, as a parent, coming from the parent perspective, or my advice to parents is try your best to also look for ways to support your child in their journey. So, like Aitade said, the connections you have, keeping them in contact with people that are going through the same things, the children of the people in their networks, you yourself doing research. My child wants to become a doctor. Okay, they're in second year. What does that entail? Let me see. You know, so you too yourself, you can initiate that conversation, like checking, like, oh, this is the summer people usually write the MCAT. Are you thinking about that? How can I help you with that? You know, too. Don't always put the onus on the child. I know this is not an education system we're familiar with or experiences we're familiar with, but like Big Mommy said, like no excuses. You can actively do a little bit of research to be able to reach out to your child in those moments where, you know, it might be a little bit more difficult and start building that more communicative relationship.
Thank you so much. And Titupa, don't you think we need to have a round table with having to cultivate how to communicate with our kids?
Absolutely. It's very much needed and necessary.
Yes.
Yes.
So you guys stay tuned. That will be coming up soon because I can see that we've pointed to that issue quite a few times while we were discussing. So I think we need to have a conversation around that as well. Now I have two more questions. I know we don't have a lot of time left. So it would just be probably if you answer one, then you won't, the other person would have the opportunity to answer the second one. So my first question is, looking back into how long and how far you've gone in university, what did you think you would have done differently if you had the opportunity to your first year? Oh, okay. Moise, please go for it.
Yeah, well, since I'm still in first year, I can I recently went through this. I definitely would have, like, from the high school from summer to university. I mean, the summer from high school to university, I would have definitely tried to prepare more. I didn't really, I kind of just assumed, okay, university's harder, and I feel like I didn't prepare as much as I should have. So like, I'd like look over like the courses you're gonna do just a little bit, just like just get a heads up what you're gonna do, and like try and plan everything out. But then also just like in terms of actually when you're in university, I'd also like try and like uh chill sometimes, try and have fun, because if you're just always on the grind studying, you're gonna burn out pretty quickly. But yeah, I'd say just try and plan everything out and like make time for yourself, like make breaks and prepare over the summer.
Okay, so thank you so much. We have a question here. Daniel is asking, what is the best advice for time management in university? Nifemi, you have your hands up. Please go for it.
What is in front of you is what you will do. I have a calendar for the month and I put down my entire, and it's right there. I wake up, it's there. I turn to the left, it's there. So I can't forget what I have to do. Schools will not remind you of anything. So the best advice for me is make sure you can see what your month looks like and you can see how you have to time block. So I like to have a monthly view. I have a weekly view as well, and then I have a daily view of everything that I need to do. And that's been the best way for me to be able to start parsing out my time. So I have a monthly calendar for everything for the month. Then I have everything that's due that week specifically. And then I have something called Notion. I use a Notion organizer. And each day I break down what I'm going to do. So best advice for time management is organization. Organize what you have to do. Prioritize what's due before and what's due with the most amount of effort, and start chipping away at it slowly. Procrastination, I'm not a procrastinator. I know some people procrastinate and swear it works. I'm not a procrastinator. Start early and take it piece by piece by piece. From Monday to Friday, what am I doing to get this project done? And I feel like that's the best way that works for me. Visualizing, seeing what I have to do, breaking it down into manageable chunks, and scheduling out when I want to do specific things.
Thank you so much, Nifemi. And that takes me to the last, my last question. Tips for those going to school in September. Anyone have tips for them that you feel will be useful at this time? Yeah, go ahead, Tadi.
I think my biggest tip that I always say is to really put yourself out there and challenge yourself to do the things that you don't think you're capable of doing. I think speaking from like a Nigerian perspective, even a Black perspective, there will be your peers who don't look like you, who are completely unqualified for roles, but they are the ones submitting their resumes. And so they are the ones that get those positions. I wish so desperately in first year that I had challenged myself to, apply for the clubs, to take on new roles, to do the risky things that I didn't really see people who look like me doing, because I think I would have been able to achieve my goals so much faster. I was lucky to receive a lot of mentorship from upper years, and I think that's what really changed my trajectory. But just decide within yourself that you're not going to let anything hold you back, and you're really going to challenge yourself to do the things that you want to do, to achieve your goals, to submit to things that you're unqualified for. Like Nifemi said, like, don't say no to yourself before they say no, and really try to think critically about, like, how can I challenge myself to learn something new or to gain a new skill while I'm here.
Thank you so much. Yes, go for it. Is that Tolu or Daya?
Yes,
Okay.
me. Go to all your classes, tutorials, labs, everything. I made the mistake of my first year. I missed like maybe 8 out of 10 tutorials, and my mark dropped. Yeah. Participation is a huge part in your classes. Go to lectures, even if they're early, if they're late. I have a late class, 6 to 9 p.m. and I did not want to go. I didn't go, and that reflected in my grades. So go to classes, even if you're like brain dead. Just go, be present, because there'll be some stuff that your professor will say that you might miss. If your lectures are recorded, still try and attend in person, because it makes a difference.
Wow. Thank you so very much. And Tudupe, any last words for parents preparing for their kids going out of the house to
Yeah,
university?
yes, it's just listen to the young adults here and get advice from the people who've done it before as well. I'm learning so much from all of you here, but parents who have kids that are heading out soon will do well for themselves to listen to those who are currently going through the same challenges, and have their kid maybe sit one-on-one to just listen to Dayo, to Nifemi, to Tolu, Moise, Tade, and listen to this podcast or to this show as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone that has make up time to join us today. Thank you for joining, and a big thank you to all the panels that have spoken. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences, challenges, being vulnerable here. We are so grateful. This brings us to the end of the session. We'll be having another one soon. Watch out for the topic, and make sure to join us. Have a good rest of your day, everyone, and take care. Bye.